Hi guys, I've had a request for a couple of poses to do mini tutorials on, so we're going to work through triangle pose and also half moon pose. They're both poses which are very much dictated as much by flexibility, strength, balance, but also by your proportion. So remember things like how long your legs are in proportion to how long your spine is, the length of your arms. So there really are poses which, using props is absolutely fine. Don't compare yourself to pictures and images and other people. It's going to feel very different from everybody doing this. But there's some warm-up drills that I find really help. So we're going to start just loosening up hip, shoulder girdle, doing a bit of lateral flexion as well. So taking a shoulder width base, you can obviously do your other warm-up video first as well for this. That would really help. So start just with your simple pelvic tilt, just rocking as we would normally do it, maybe in a box position or reclined. But just getting that awareness of how to position your pelvis in either your posterior tilt, and we're tipping out the back of the bucket, or your anterior tilt, tipping out the front of the bucket. Also in this pose, in both these poses, we're going to be working on the side tilts, yeah, tipping left and tipping right. So we're doing a little bit of that as well. But just having a play with these movements. So forwards and back, just rocking the hips, forwards and back, and then think about shifting the hips from left to right. So it's almost like a little kind of wiggling action with the hips. Trying to feel that you are just isolating your pelvic movement, so we're not moving with the shoulders just yet. We just want to get that sense of being able to move in the direction that we want, basically. And again, as you're doing this, get your glutes firing up, squeeze, relax. So doing a few of these, if you feel particularly tight around here, you could keep this going a little bit longer. Okay, and then we're going to come into some circular movements. So again, just nice, easy base, roll the hips around, making that movement as big as you can. So if you're really tight, it might be a little tiny movement here, that's fine. If you're feeling okay, you've got no back issues, etc., you can make this bigger. Trying to feel that you're creating movement in the pelvic girdle, upper body stays fairly still to start with. Okay, taking that both ways, and then coming back to centre. So now we're just going to do a little bit of movement laterally flexing through the spine. So think about that extension. Yeah, we want nice neutral pelvis. We want to keep that extension. So chest and pubic bone, keep the distance there. I'm just going to gently glide this. So we're just sliding from side to side. Okay, again, try not to twist or lean forwards. Pure lateral flexion. And just find your range. Your range might be more like this to start with. That's absolutely fine. As long as you're pushing to that point where you can feel a bit of a challenge, never pushing to that point where it feels painful. Feel that you're lengthening, growing tall, as well as leaning from left to right. So we're not just trying to fold ourselves in half. We're trying to feel that we're kind of lifting up and over through the spine. If this is really easy, if you wanted to, you could always do a slightly more intense version where we're reaching up as well, or you can even clasp the hands, push from side to side. So whatever is challenging you, go to that level. Okay, so once we've done a little bit of lateral flexion, we're going to do a little bit of gliding now. So we take a slightly wider base and we open the arms out. Just let your shoulders relax away from your ears. Start with your palms just facing up. Feel that your shoulder blades, your mid-back muscles are active, so they're helping to support. Neck is nice and long. And all we're going to do, we're just going to start to reach from one side to the other. Now, if you notice as I'm reaching, I'm trying not to fold. I'm keeping my chest kind of horizontal. So I'm actually lengthening through the waist. And then we're just going to start to change the arm position. So we're going to rotate one palm so it's facing down, one palm so it faces up. And then we're going to change. So as we move towards the palm that's facing down, we're going to turn it up and we're going to rotate the other one down. And then we move across. So we're moving towards a palm that's rotating upwards towards the ceiling. And again, with this movement, we're making this bigger and bigger. So really start to wring out your shoulder muscles. You're getting that nice range. Two parts here, the shoulders obviously rotating, but we're also twisting through that radius of the wrist and forearm joints as well. So have a little play with this. But remember, we're keeping that extension. We're not leaning at the moment. We're gliding this movement left to right. Palm faces up, palm faces down. Okay, and then coming back to centre. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of work just on our base. So just start with a nice wide base. Okay, we're just going to take it into an easy fold. So take a deep breath in, exhale, let your body come halfway down. Feel that you're tipping out the front of your bucket. We want the sit bones lifting up behind us. And again, if that's your range, that's absolutely fine. Remember, you can use your props. So if you've got yoga bricks, you need something to support the back, grab your brick. If you've got good range and it feels comfortable, walk a little wider. You can maybe start to drop to the ground, maybe relax the head down. So we want to just feel, again, a bit of a stretch now coming through the inner thighs, the hamstrings, getting that foot positioning, so nice even pressure from heel to toe, inner edge and outer edge. Remember, we're not twisting or rolling on the ankle joint. We want the ankles to be nice and centred. Okay, so we just hold this, and again, if it feels quite tight, you could hold this a little bit longer. You could even keep relaxing, going further and further into that stretch. Go as far as is challenging for you. Okay, and then we're going to come back up to centre, coming into the middle. Right, so just coming through our lower body position now then. So we're going to take it into a nice wide base, maybe the base that you would do a warrior two position in. Okay, hands are on hips, so just be aware of your pelvic position. And we're going to rotate our left foot, so turn it out and away. So you want your left toes pointing towards the short edge of your yoga mat, your right toes pointing towards the long edge, your hips, your headlights, they're pointed directly forwards, yeah? We're not turning with this, we're trying to keep that nice centre line. Okay, and we're just going to gently soften the knees, so have a little bit of a fidget, feel relaxed, feel comfortable, make sure that you're super glued to the ground, that you're not going to slip anywhere. Think about your pelvic position, upright, tailbone tucks, glutes are active. And we're going to do some lateral tilt with the pelvis now. So again, bucket, we're tipping out the left side of the bucket and then back up to centre. So do that a few times. I love this movement because I really find it gets into these kind of inner thigh and groin muscles, and it just gives you an idea of how much tension you are actually carrying there. And it can just stop hand pulling on the knee as well, for example. Now, in triangle pose, we want the legs straight, but that doesn't mean we're locking them back, yeah? Little softness. Having said that, if you like to lock, if you're hypermobile and you like that thing of locking, as long as you're aware that you're doing it, you're supporting, and you're not jarring into it, then that's okay. But just be aware of what's going on with the knees. Okay, so a little bit of lateral tipping, left and right. And as I said, as you come down this, we're trying to keep that extension. Okay, we're trying to also keep our body leaning slightly back. Now I'm going to move to the wall just to demonstrate this. One of the most common faults that I see with triangle pose is the need to get to the floor. You know, people think it's about trying to get to the ground, and in doing so, they often come forwards. So we want to try and keep our line. And I really find it helps if you lean against a wall, if you have something behind you. So as we start to tip, yeah, we're trying to keep that body back. We're not letting our body come forwards. We're trying to almost keep a contact there. So tail is tucked, chest is lifted. We've got that distance. Opens through the chest. And we're just going to tip this a few times. Okay, and then we come back up to centre and we're going to change sides. So get your lower body position. First we rotate out, hips are forwards, tail is tucked, little fidget, soften the knees, make sure you feel nice and solid in your base. And then we're just going to start to tip out the right side of your bucket. One side will be a lot tighter. I'm so much tighter on this side. This is my bad toe side, so I'm always carrying a little bit more tension. And you'll notice that with these kind of poses when you do one side and the other, it really highlights your imbalances. That's fine, just work with it as long as you're not straining it. Okay, so just finding that range, tip in. Okay, and then just hold that for a moment, try and feel that you're leaning back. As we start to lean into it, we're not starting to come forwards. We want to keep the chest away from the belly, we want to keep the shoulders stacked above the hips if possible. Okay, coming back to centre. Okay, so I'm going to show you this a couple of times using bricks, for those of you that have either got really long legs or short arms or really tight inner thighs, for example, to bring the ground up to you. You can even use a stack of, use as many bricks as you need to, even to the point where you're perhaps having the floor halfway up, hip height, that's fine. If that helps you to feel safe, that's fine. So we're going to start from our initial base. We've got our left toe turned out, we're tipping our pelvis, tipping out the left side of the bucket. Okay, and we're starting to come down. Okay, now we're going to open the arms out. So think about that position that we did earlier, the gliding. So we're looking towards our left fingers. We're going to glide away. When you can't go any further, then we're going to start to come down. So as my left arm comes down, I'm going to place my brick so that it lines up roughly underneath my shoulder. I'm going to start to take my right arm, reach up and rotate to the shoulder. Feel that shoulder blade hugging your mid-back muscles, supporting, squeeze the glutes. But I'm still leaning back off the wall, yeah? I'm not coming forwards to get to the ground. I'm trying to keep this this line. Okay, so that's my range here. I'm just going to hold that, breathing into it. Okay, and you might find after a few breaths that you can pop the brick a little bit lower. You can go a little bit lower until eventually you get to the point where you can comfortably reach the ground. You might not need to touch the floor. You might have the balance where you can just rest on the inside of the foot. But just keep checking back and you find that wall behind you. Yeah, make sure that you're not coming forwards. Keep that nice alignment. If you need extra bricks, yeah, you can make your towels. You could even use, you know, I almost got my step out, and that's quite a nice height for this. Anything that just gives you that little bit of support allows you to get the nice shape of the pose. Okay, and then we're just going to change sides. So you can imagine your fingers that are above you, imagine they're being pulled up. We lift up to the ceiling to come out of the pose. Relax the arms, changing sides. So we're going to tip it across, so we rotate out. Then if you're using bricks, you're going to place it. So start with your lower body position, tip your pelvis a few times, rocking the hips. Keep tipping out the right side of your bucket, feeling that stretch. Arms are going to open, so we're now looking towards our right fingers, we're going to glide it through. Okay, try not to collapse here to start with, keep that extension. Okay, and then we're going to start to drop. One hand comes down, one arm's going to come up, so we're opening the chest. Mid-back, shoulder blade muscles supporting the upper body. Squeeze the glutes, tail is tucked. Neutral neck. If you've got great balance and you feel okay, you can look up. If not, keep your eye on the focal point. If you find that you don't need your brick, you can start to lower it until eventually you get to the ground. Okay, and then just breathe, hold it, just notice what you're feeling when you're ready to come out. So fingers, we're going to push up. Relax, come back to centre. Okay, so that's your basic triangle pose. We're now going to move into our half moon pose. So it's very similar. A lot of the basics are very similar in half moon pose. It's a pose that we sometimes will step into from another balance, but we're going to step into it from our triangle, just because we're working on that anyway. So we're going to start, again, just coming back into our first position. So we have our feet, left toes are turned out, right toes forwards. We're going to tip, we open, we start to lean across. Okay, now I'm going to show you here how you can either do this in little baby steps. So if your balancing isn't great, you're going to bring that back leg in, little steps, you're going to find your balance point, and then you're going to start to raise that up behind. If you are comfortable stepping into a balance, so we're in our triangle base here, we're kind of gliding through this, we're going to look towards the fingers. Remember, half moon pose, really important you find a focal point. Balance, so engage your arms, think pelvic floor, glutes. Take your time, we're going to shift the weight coming onto that left leg. If you're using your brick, you're going to reach for the brick. Keeping the focus down, we start to raise that right leg up, we're going to open our right arm up towards the ceiling. Again, if you don't need the brick, you can start to drop it down. If you've got the balance and you don't need it at all, we're opening here, but we still want to feel that we've got this openness through the body. This top hip is rolling back, it's not tipping down, we're trying to keep this nice open line. So you can either step through to your half moon, lengthen, left arm reaches down, right arm reaches up, pushing back through that leg. If you're not comfortable stepping through just yet, little baby steps. Then when you get comfortable, you can come to here. Create your tower as high as you need it. Yeah, if you need to have quite a good support here, that's fine. There's still a lot of balance going on, even if I'm just resting on fingertips. Yeah, I'm still getting used to this pose, and then as I get more confident, I can start to take that away. So we'll have a go at that on the opposite leg as well. So coming across, so we come into it from our triangle pose base, tilt, open, start to move through. Okay, take your time, so you either soften the knees, you do the baby steps, back leg's going to come in, or we're going to start to lift. If you're feeling comfortable, stepping straight through to it. So we glide, we look forwards, we start to bend that right knee, squeeze the glutes, push the right foot down into the floor. Left leg is going to float up, my right arm is now dropping down. I'm opening my chest, keeping extension, and then just try not to let the body become rigid. Remember, any balance pose, we've got this tendency, they're quite scary things. We clench everything, tighten everything up. You're more likely to lose your balance if you tight. Try and feel a little relaxing in the legs, the joints, so we're not locking through. Take your time coming out super slow. Okay, coming back. Roll your shoulders back. Give everything a little bit of a shake. So that's just a little way that you can practice your half moon pose, moving into it, your triangle pose. Remember, bricks, props are great for this. It just gives you that confidence until you feel that you can take them. Think of them as stabilizers on your bike. Gives you the confidence. One day you'll just take them away, you realise you won't need them anymore. But do use them to start with to have with your confidence. Thanks, guys.